Brad, can you check on Twitter that we're live over there?
Will do.
Hello, Internet.
So I'm watching.
Oh, wait, are we live?
Yes,
Yeah, we're live.
Hey, is this Twitter?
We are live.
All right. We're live.
Hello, Twitter.
Sweet. Now I need to find where on Periscope
I'm
I
getting
can
no
watch
internet
ourselves.
connection. What's up with that?
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. Here we are.
All right.
We're on Periscope. Love it. All right. We are on Twitch, confirmed. And we
Hello,
are
Internet.
on YouTube. We got Chris Hex on YouTube. He says, hi, folks.
Hello, Chris.
Hello. All right, Gordon. Why don't you tell him?
Oh, everything's hot. Okay.
It looks like it.
Sorry, we're juggling
whoops.
a lot of stuff here. No, what dropped out? Sorry.
No, I did one.
We are broadcasting from our basement to all corners of the internet.
There we go. Okay.
Facebook, YouTube, where else? Twitch.
Facebook, no, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter.
And Twitter.
It's
Everywhere.
all. I mean, I don't think we could go anywhere else, could we? Maybe Mixer.
What? No Justin TV?
Yeah, we're going to Twitch.
Is there's that U thing? Is that still around?
Ustream.
Nah.
Ustream is
Oh,
Ustream.
that's a paid service.
Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah.
yeah. Live stream and Ustream are paid services.
I feel
And
like
it's worse than Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
stuck on this.
I mean, it's for enterprise, honestly.
it is. Like huge events.
I don't know if that
Marius
was my
on
thing.
YouTube's asking, "Where's 5 nanometer? Where is it?"
5 nanometer. It's after 7.
Oh, okay.
So there's
I thought 6 was after 7.
7.
No, 6 is before 7, actually.
What was that? That
Oh,
might.
yeah.
Oh God, Marianne loves that joke. Something 8, 9.
Oh,
Why
7,
was 6
7, 8,
afraid of
9.
7? Because 7, 8, 9.
That's why we have no Intel's 7 nanometer. 7, 8, 9. So
We got
sorry.
It's Gaunts on
I'm a little
Twitch.
punchy
Hello,
today.
greetings.
Hey, okay. We're gonna be talking about obviously Threadripper 2, the stuff we can't talk about today. Intel 9000 stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Leak.
Cool.
And the Intel, the first QLC SSD.
Oh, and that's crazy. That's a big deal, I think.
QVC
Yeah.
making SSDs.
Who the hell is not going to have a 2
Crazy.
terabyte SSD basically pretty soon, it feels like.
I'm excited to see
That would
that.
be
Yeah, I'm
nice.
thinking about getting one of the 1 terabyte ones for my gaming drive.
Yeah, prices have been dropping lately. It's really nice.
Yeah. You can do your forecast today, Elena?
Oh, I didn't come prepared for it. I didn't think
Uh-oh.
I was actually doing it.
Well, you could at least talk
No,
about
no.
the Threadripper 1 pricing going down, huh?
Is it? Oh, yeah. So whatever that was stuck on the mic is now stuck on me. I think it's actually food.
What?
Sorry, it might be on my breakfast.
Oh,
All right, are we ready to do this?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Hold on. Yes, I'm ready.
Ready?
Yes.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, Threadripper 2 finally arrives, and Intel 9000 series. Oh, God, what the hell is that thing? What are we calling that?
Now 9000
Intel
series.
9000 series, what all the motherboard makers are doing it.
I don't know, what the hell is that?
Gen-
Like a Terminator series? Like
yes.
Yes.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, Threadripper 2 finally arrives, and Intel strikes back again with 9000 series CPU. Okay, what the hell is it?
Oh, you were so
Motherboard.
What am I
close.
gonna call it?
That's all you need
what
to
do we
say.
get? What are we just in ninth? All right, here we go. This one's gonna work. In this episode of The Full Nerd, Threadripper 2 finally arrives, and Intel 9000 series is here. Kind of. I mean, come on, that's what it is, right?
Ish.
Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 62. I'm your host, Gordon Mong, with co-host Brad Charkis,
Hello?
who's sweating back east, and of
Yes,
course,
sir.
Lena Yee,
Hey, everybody.
sporting a really cool t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. I wore it today. Mark gave me
Yeah.
this. Can you believe it? Mark gave me his limited edition Threadripper or second gen Threadripper shirt.
Yeah, that's because it's not going to fit him. I think it looks like a small.
It is a small, although I think it's a men's small because it's kind of large on me.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely like, this is not going to fit me.
I just thought he might end up giving it to one of his kids or something. So I felt very lucky.
The coolest kid in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
What are you rolling, Timmy? Oh, iPad
Timmy.
2nd gen? 32 core Threadripper 2nd gen. Yeah. What, to play Minecraft? Yeah.
No, to play Fortnite.
Play Fortnite.
Do your kids play Fortnite?
No, actually they don't. It's Minecraft for Marianne. And
Minecraft's
Glenn is
awesome.
all about the what the heck is that? Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, Siege.
Rainbow
Yeah,
Six.
wow.
Yeah.
That
Good
is just,
taste.
Wait, isn't that a
I was just about
mature-rated
to say
game?
same
it's
thing.
really complicated. I got to say, watching it, it's like I don't. What's going on here? What are you building? Where did you get that? Like, what? Yeah, did the terrorists invade and have like I don't know a Home Depot in their backpack or something? you're putting up fencing. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and of course, Adam Patrick Murray, who has the control of all of us, from the vertical
Hi,
and the
I'm here.
horizontal.
Yeah.
I just realized the audio
don't
listeners
forget
aren't
the
going to
audio
realize
listeners that
Yeah,
I
you're
he
just
waving.
waved my hand.
Adam
Whoops.
waved. Forget.
Sorry.
You got to have
Right.
and for the audio listeners, I realize
Yes.
you just got to have that, that smooth talking voice.
Mm-hmm.
Audio listeners. But the big news, of course, is right here. I'm going to bust it out. I got one right here.
Do you have Threadripper 2?
I have Threadripper 2 right here. It's the actual 2 size.
Second gen Threadripper.
Second gen Threadripper.
Threadripper 2.
That's it.
Wow.
We're gonna need a bigger cooler.
Yeah, for the audio listeners, please describe to them what you're
For
holding.
audio listeners, we are holding a Threadripper second gen Threadripper CPU that's as big as a 17-inch laptop.
My forearm. It's longer than my forearm.
Yeah, this thing is.
You could actually build an
huge.
entire mod into this. It is a wood mock-up. This is a loaner from AMD. We're going to return this, but this is a cool. They did this as a gag to say like, "Hey, we got Threadripper 3." It's like,
Yeah, if you haven't seen, watch our unboxing and install video on YouTube. But yeah, at the end, they surprised us with that we had no idea what was in that case, and so that was a genuine
oh my
reaction.
god, that thing is.
That was a pretty cool. I watched a bunch of unboxing videos yesterday, and I thought that one was actually pretty cool because you guys actually did it with AMD's Jim Anderson.
Yes, because they were concerned
good old
I was
Jim.
going to screw something up. So, because they we heard you bend a pin last year. It's like, no, I didn't actually bend a pin. I was afraid I bent a pin. I did not bend a pin. So, I did not actually bend it. It still worked. In fact,
I
that
know.
board still
I was
works.
there.
Yeah, you were there. But it did still work. I was afraid I bent it, so in the rush up to that, I was like, I need a backup motherboard just in case. So, but of course, the star, Threadripper. Everybody calls it Threadripper 2. It is not technically Threadripper 2,
Nope, it is.
but we're gonna.
Gen.
It is second gen Threadripper. We're still gonna call it Threadripper 2 because no one will understand what you're talking about when you say that. I guess 2G Threadripper could work.
It's the same as Ryzen. Nobody seems to have a problem with Ryzen. I don't understand why it's a problem with Threadripper.
I don't know, because it was second gen Ryzen.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the model name itself tells you that because the original Threadripper was 1950X and down, right? And these new ones are two series. So Threadripper 2990WX is the second generation part. Do we need to get into the prices and specs?
Yeah.
Or do we just need to get into that we were wrong?
Well, some of us were wrong.
I was right until you persuaded me to drop my number.
Wait. For people who don't know, for people who have been living under some quad core, authoritarian country where you can't leave and you have not been able to see what more than 4 cores is. There are actually 4 new Threadrippers. There is a 12-core, 24-thread TR2920X, 3.5 base, 4.3 turbo, 1 step up. Threadripper 2950X, which is really the second version of the original Threadripper, is 16 cores, 32 threads, 3.5 gigahertz base, 4.4 turbo, and that's $899. $649 for that 12 core. And then let me see if I can get all the way to. Here we go. And of course, for medium, there's also the Threadripper 2970WX. Just point that out. 3 gigahertz base, 4.2 turbo, 24 cores, 48 threads, $1299. And of
That's
course,
a lot of threads.
That is a crazy amount of threads, but not as much as the Threadripper 2990WX.
Man, we were all off.
32 cores, 64 threads, 3 gigahertz base. By the way, these are both the same 3 gigahertz base, 4.2 gigahertz turbo. Bam, $17.99. We were all wrong, weren't we?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wishful thinking.
yeah. Well,
Too
and
much.
What did we get?
I was
I don't
calling
remember.
1750 before you talked
he
me out
was.
of it.
He was.
So.
Brad, what is that? Brad is like, yeah, how do you do that? Like he's like the price whisperer or something
Yeah.
like that. I was thinking $1,500. I think, what were you guessing, like $3 or something?
No. I don't even remember anymore, but I know I was
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, I think so somebody has to remind us in the chat or go back and review the tapes. I can't remember the exact
will definitely
prices.
tell us.
But I mean, I got to say, for the lower end, not only are you getting more cores, it's actually cheaper, correct, than previous gen?
Yeah, because the 16-core, the 1950X came out at $999, and this is coming out at $899. Of course, the original Threadripper seemed like the price, it started at $1,000 and then it got down to $800 really quickly, remember?
It did. And then it went on sale yesterday for $600.
Mega sale.
That's
it was
nuts.
crazy. So yeah, those are already being priced to move apparently.
Yeah.
Or it was done on purpose.
16 cores for $600.
I know. Lana sent me that link last night. I was like, oh my God, where do I get $600 from?
Because I actually wonder if they did it just to get it into people's consciousness. Like, hey, look at this. Isn't this exciting?
Well, they did a good job at it.
I wonder how many they sold at $600. Because I mean, that deal was evaporated by this morning.
Well, but
it hit the number one bestseller CPU on Amazon overnight. So
yeah,
it moved enough.
I'm sure it was good.
Wow. But I don't know. I guess I'm jumping off track a little here, but would you buy the 1950X for $600 or would you buy the 2950X for $900 just to get a little bit more of that turbo boost?
I would buy, generally, I would buy I would go for core count because that's just a stupidly good price. And my rationale is if you're the kind of person who really does need 16 cores, which is really pedestrian these days, you would rather have cores over clock speed. So for the most part, it looks like there's, we can't talk about performance stuff.
These are the same though, right? Like the 1950X and the 2950X still have the same core and thread count, don't they?
Yeah, same.
It's just a boost to the clock speed for turbo.
Yeah, so you get overall just higher clocks. Oops. You're going to get... But go ahead.
To me, that's the interesting part of all this is just, with second gen Ryzen, they used XFR and precision boost and whatnot to boost core clock so much higher. And these are really, really higher clock speeds for these second gen Threadripper chips.
Yeah, they're pretty high. But I still, my feeling is generally if you are like you really need 16 cores, you really need heavy workloads, 3D rendering, that kind of stuff. And it's better to have core counts over clock speed usually. So I would go for it because...
So you go for the cheaper one then, is what you're saying?
Yeah, $300 is a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not going to be able to get the 2950X heavily discounted immediately. So
no, but Black Friday is still coming.
I mean, even if you bought this 16 core part for $600 and you used it for 8 months, and then you sold it to somebody used for $300 or $400,
That's
and
true.
I'm sure somebody would buy it for $300 or $400.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So why not do it, right? And these are all, just want to point out, they are drop-in compatible. They are all socket TR4. Every single one of them will just fit into all current motherboards and run. And you shouldn't really have any problems. You have to update the BIOS. Apparently, every single Threadripper board on the market does support BIOS back, which means you can update the BIOS even if you don't have a next generation CPU.
Nice.
Some of them will do it without
awesome.
CPUs even usually. So.
Well, those things are like $300 to start, so I would hope they support features.
Yeah, it's always been a premium feature, right? So it does that. So, but there's really no issues with that. I will say for the motherboard support, there was a lot of concern over incompatibility.
Right.
And I think Jim mentioned it when we had him on our special podcast as well. But he's saying, it shouldn't be a problem. And also other guidance I've gotten is like, it's everything should work at base clocks. If you're doing heavy overclocking, some boards may perform better. Some of the boards may have even, there's fans, I think. In fact, on the new version of the Asus Threadripper board, it comes with a fan kit now, whereas the previous version didn't have a fan. A lot of it's for supplying power to the CPU.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a 250-watt TDP part, which is thermals, but, very, very closely related to the amount of power it consumes, too.
Speaking of fans, should we talk about
Yeah,
fans right now?
I have some people asking about that cool thing on
the
on your
Wraith
desk.
Ripper?
Yeah. Also, some specific questions that we want to get to in the chat in a second. But why don't you tell them about that cool
this
thing?
Hunk of awesome-looking
this
metal.
is
That
a
is
Cooler
beautiful.
Master built in partnership with AMD. This is the semi-stock cooler that AMD has developed for Threadripper. It is an air-cooled
I even like the name Wraith Ripper.
Wraith Ripper 12 heat pipe, if you can see the back of it.
Ooh.
And also the nice thing is it's a full coverage cold plate or whatever.
And didn't you say this is the first full coverage Threadripper?
No, there are others.
There probably are others.
Oh, okay.
I think I was looking at the Lichtech. So there's actually an Intermax Lichtech TR4 that they make that's full coverage. And I was just comparing it to like last year. When Threadripper originally launched, there was a lot of concern because if you look at the heat pipe, the interface that connects to the CPU, it clamps down on it, and a lot of the stock heat sinks were just small. You only covered a little, felt like 60 to 70% of the actual heat spreader on the Threadripper. So people thought, oh, well, am I losing some performance? Yeah, you're probably losing some. So all the newer, updated ones are full coverage, and there are some water coolers. I'm doing... we can't talk about the actual performance, but I will say I'm doing the majority of the testing on liquid. So CLC.
So you call it semi-stock. Is that because it doesn't come in the box?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it stock because that means it comes with it, but it does not come with it. AMD is still saying, yeah, this is not cheap.
How much is it?
I don't know. I haven't gotten the price. I'm going to guess, $50 to $60 probably.
I think I saw on another site $100.
No, I think it's going to be more because I think the Wraith, even the Wraith Prism, was already at the $60 mark.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty expensive when they released it.
But
I'm not sure. I was reading around and I saw $100.
That's interesting because at that price range you're getting into some serious metal up there.
When they launched Wraith Prism standalone last year, because people were asking for it, they said, "Hey, it's going to be expensive because we don't want to put our partners out of business, and we're just putting it out because you guys are asking for it, so you're going to spend more money."
Hey, if you're upfront about it, and people buy it, they know what they're doing.
But not to get too far down the rabbit hole on air coolers, but is it because of the RGB? The RGB, you got to admit, AMD has done RGB right on these coolers. It's just beautiful, right?
This is really nice.
That is pretty.
You get these high-end, a lot of these very high-end coolers, Noctua, and there's, a bunch of companies that just make these outstanding air coolers that are just, you could cool your car with them. They don't have the LED thing down.
Yeah, you don't see air cool, like big heat sinks like that with RGB on it very often.
Yeah, and it just kind of tells you that people would rather have the RGB and give up some performance.
Well, speaking of performance, Dragon Curd is asking, what are the temps like while using it?
I don't think we can say. We're not allowed to talk about any testing results. Performance, that would be, I think, covered under the performance NDA, so we'll know soon.
Okay, all right.
Just you got to wait.
Well, another question from Dragon Curd on Twitch. How many cores are active when using the turbo? Can you talk about that?
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that either. I know it's a bummer.
All right.
Because that is actually part of it. There's basically price, clocks, availability. These are all, hey, by the way, 12 nanometers and plus.
Oh, right. We didn't talk about when they're coming on market. Did that get announced?
Actually, let's talk about that. So this is very much... but
the 2990WX is available for pre-order right now and is expected to be on shelves on the 13th. The 16-core Threadripper 2 is the end of the month, and the last two updates to the previous versions are coming out in October.
Yep. So nice. 32 now, 16 later. I
just have it right here.
And then 24 and 12 much later, October.
Nice.
So.
Speaking, what's crazy though is to me with this 32 core chip is one, the price compared to Intel. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
But two, you get with X399 motherboard too, you get 64 PCIe lanes. So you're getting 64 cores and 64 PCIe lanes.
That's nuts.
You could build Skynet with that thing.
And it is crazy because for the news story that I ran on Monday, I actually did a price comparison per thread. It's pretty crazy.
Was it just 2 years ago that Skylake X was $17.23 for 10 cores?
No, that was Broadwell-E.
Broadwell, okay.
Yeah, that's $86 per thread on the original. That was basically the peak. That was definitely the peak of it all. Yeah, and it's actually on. If you go to the story, it's on there, and it's represented as stretched Benjamins.
This is my favorite of your charts. I really love this one.
I do like somebody says, hey, I think the caption's wrong. It says it indicates more. It says shorter bars indicate more money in your pocket. per thread. Yo. It's like, no, that is correct. That is. I think they were like, this doesn't sound like correct English. It's like, yeah, no, that's correct. On the street, that is the correct English.
He's speaking Oakland.
So, 20. I got to say, so here's the crazy thing. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Can I argue that the 32 core Threadripper is a great deal? Elena's got like deal sense. Like, you know how Spider-Man is like, whoa, the Thanos. No, she's got like, there's a deal coming. Before you even know the deal's coming.
Like, I smell it in the air.
Deal sense. See, you know why there's no more Threadrippers? She bought them all last night. You notice on eBay, they're all like, hey, selling Threadripper for $670. 16 core first gen, $670. San Francisco, California. Is that a good deal? 20. Now for the 32 core, it's $28 per thread, and the 24 thread is the best deal, is $27 per thread.
Oh man,
could you argue that is a good value? I mean, that's just such a great value. Although, of course, it is.
If you need the cores, I mean, like you say in your article, the equivalent Core i9 that actually costs $200 more is $55 per thread.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
So I'm going to be really interested to see the official review whenever that comes out, because I'm really because all the changes in second gen Ryzen really improve clock speeds and close the performance between Intel and AMD.
Right.
And I'm really curious to see where Threadripper second gen winds up against that Intel 20 core on single thread performance, because it could be like a steal.
Yeah. Well, it's 18 cores. Sorry, just to make sure. So before somebody on YouTube gets angry, it's 18 cores, and that is $55 per thread. It's just that is in the
good
upper
Lord.
end.
That's basically double.
Yeah,
almost.
It's just not. I know. It's that sort of.
So I don't have the chart to put it up for the video people, but they can go over to PCWorld to see the.
Should I just?
This chart? Why don't you send it over? It is a good chart. I think
one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the dollar chart.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Another thing that's interesting about these two new chips, not necessarily the refreshes of the existing one, is that they have the W in front of their name, which who knows what it means, workstation or whatever. But I think it's interesting that they're kind of acknowledging that once you get up to 24 cores or 32 cores, this is for creative people who are going to put those cores to work, because the WX brand is also part of Radeon Pro. For creators and stuff like that, for video editors and whatnot. So I think it's interesting how they're merging the two brands together like that with the WX.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that is. It's weird though, because WX is clearly, for the Frontier Edition. Although I do think that's very much like like wagons and horses and that kind of stuff. But it is clearly aimed at workstation users. This one is still sort of marketed both to consumers and to sort of content creation people, right?
Well, and I did find it weird because last time around they were like Threadripper not for gaming, not for gaming, not for gaming. But then this time they are saying, hey, the lower ones, they're for gaming. Like, why do you think that changed in their marketing message?
I think it's I'm trying to think of how to talk around this what I can say. I think it is mostly because that
people are going to game on them anyway.
Well, I think it's because you know that for gaming, the best performance is going to come from higher clocks for the most part. These games inherently today, I don't care what anybody says, just don't use the cores, the thread count. So that is going to be a weakness. When you're looking at a 8700K, you're running at 5 gigahertz. 8086K running at 5 gigahertz. Yeah, that's that's just going to always be inherently looked at as a weakness.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even though 95% of gaming is GPU. So once you are running at 1440p or 4K, or it doesn't make that much of a difference, but it's just going to look like a weakness, I think. So because you really do want high clocks.
And to be fair, I don't think they were necessarily saying not for gaming so much with the first round of chips, because they did have like the game mode, so that you could disable half of the cores and get just a single core thing. Right. I think it was more they were saying, yeah, man, you can game on this, but don't buy this just to game, which is a little bit of a finer point.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, you don't buy a 32-core CPU if you're just going to play Fortnite. And I think,
well, unless you're going to play 12 Fortnites all in their own instance.
yeah, but I think they clearly like, hey, get a 2700X, 2700. It's just what you should be doing as a gamer. You can even do a Ryzen 5 even for the most part. So yeah, clearly don't go out and buy a $1,800 CPU to play games.
Yeah.
I'm uploading the graphic to you, Adam. I don't know why it's just hung.
Yeah, it's weird.
Our best Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, on that same gaming thing, Chris Hex on YouTube asked a bit ago, sorry, I'm just getting to it, do you think the 2950X is going to be a good gaming CPU for the future too?
Yeah, it will be, but we're talking about basically at this rate, it'll be 2028. And I don't think any of us will be using hardware from 2018 and 2028. So I could see games in 10 years from now, actually, DirectX 12 has finally matured. The developers have come over. Everything's wonderful. We will have eliminated global poverty and all bad things. And then games will actually use all the cores in a CPU. But we're talking about a long time from now. So,
although I am wondering realistically, do you think developers would scale that? Or do you think, because otherwise you're going to start crowding out budget gamers who can't afford to get, CPUs with a crazy amount of cores?
And you mean 10 years from now? Or
yeah. If they were to actually start taking more advantage of all the cores available to them.
I think a lot of it's going to be tied to where the consoles are at, and we don't know where the consoles will be at. So I would doubt if we use 16 cores even 10 years from now, though.
Yeah. It just seems like a bad idea to crowd out that lower end.
Well, but what I think you will get is scaling. So you do get more performance with 16 cores, potentially. I don't think nobody ever wants to leave any money on the table. So they do always want gamers. And then I got to be honest, 10 years from now, a 16-core machine will be the budget low end. Right?
You think
the way
so?
we're going,
Yeah,
who would
I don't know.
There's a second chart. I sent two charts, Adam. You got them?
Okay, yeah. Which one do you want to show first?
Well, we're sort of talking about the second chart at this point.
All right,
but
let me,
I think we should do that second chart.
Is it the, more Core Wars?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Brad, it's the second
right,
chart from that
there we
story
go.
too, but it's just crazy.
So what are we seeing here?
Right?
It's kind of small on the screen.
It's a little small on the screen, but I basically sat down and was like, you know what? I'm going to look at the major CPU launches, and I counted up core count, the CPUs that mattered. So Core i7-960 is awesome. Nehalem part, 2008, 4 cores. 2 years later, we go to 6 cores.
Whoa.
Core i7-980X. That's Westmere, Gulftown.
That's so many.
There was a 990X in 2011, but that was just an upclock version of the previous one. And then 2012, really 2010, 2012, we go to Ivy Bridge E, and you get from 6 cores, you get 6 cores. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I was wrong. That was Sandy Bridge E. And then 2011, we do a Ivy Bridge E, and that is 6 cores. So between 2008 and 2013, we went up from 4 cores to 6 cores. 2014, we come out with, hey, quad core finally, Haswell E, big deal, 8 cores for enthusiasts, gamers, consumers.
Very expensive.
So look, from 2008 to 2014, we finally doubled the core count, and that is over 6 years. And then we get to 10 cores in 2016. So it took us 8 years to go from 4 to 10 cores. 1,723. Along comes Ryzen. 2017, we're up at 16 and 18 cores, and now in 2018, we are now
that
up
chart
at 32.
Is incredible.
Yeah.
And of course,
it just kind of goes straight-ish for a while and just goes whoop.
Yeah, it takes off like a rocket, right? And then we know that Intel itself is readying a 28-core CPU of unknown design.
Well, Dragon Kurt is asking on Twitch, how many cores can you fit on a die? As I know, it has 8 cores in each corner, so it's 32 cores max. Do you think they can put more cores in what they have now, or is this they're going to have a whole new sea change? I
think they're probably maxed out on the current process, probably 8 cores, right? I think that's what it was probably designed for, but who knows with 7 nanometer, right? AMD says we got some coming. So I would expect them to jam more cores into this. This is sort of based on EPYC, sort of not. So I would expect more. I mean, it's crazy because this is a 32-core consumer CPU. Who would ever thought we'd be here?
I love the fact that we get 32 cores, and the first question someone asks is, well, when do you think we can get more?
I know.
That's why this is the full nerd.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I love it, but it just illustrates to me just how much our thinking has changed because of what we're getting so quickly.
Yeah, it is so accelerated. I mean, because it basically has been, if you look at that chart, it kind of goes like this, and then just hockey sticks up in the last 2 years, ever since we've seen Ryzen.
Well,
and Threadripper.
And I mean, this is taking into account consumer parts. I mean, obviously Xeons, like you run a Xeon at home because you wanted more cores, right?
Yeah,
so
I have 8 cores.
It's like for the workstation people like me, we were like, oh, okay, the Mac Pros we used to use were all Xeon because you get a ton of cores, So I'm glad it's finally catching up on the consumer side for sure.
Yeah.
So looking back at this chart of yours, I'm thinking that Core i9 6950X with 10 cores for $1,723 was pretty much the worst investment in the history of processors.
And guess what? I have one of those in this box right here, that we used to stream.
We said it at the time, though, when we discussed it then, even though we already knew then that it was probably going to be a painful investment, but they had no other choice. Like people like Adam had really no other option at the time.
Yeah, and if you think about it too, we went from, because at the time it was, this is the only thing coming. I mean, Intel was the only game in town. Everybody was like, hey, they got this 10-core Core i9 coming. Everybody's like, yeah, because traditionally it's always been $1,000 for the high-end part. People were saying, oh, this thing, it might actually be more expensive, right? Because you're getting 2 more cores. It might be $1,500 or $1,400. Remember, people were like, oh, yeah, but, I guess it's got more cores. You can just... And then they came out and it's like $1,723. It's like, what?
and by then, the Ryzen rumors were already going full swing about it being 8 cores and everything like that. So.
Yeah. But they basically, I remember asking them, like, why? It's like, well, if the actual official response from Intel is, we are testing the elasticity of the market, I think.
Wow, that is a very clever way of putting it, actually.
Clever? Is it clever?
Like, in terms of just speaking as someone who appreciates wordplay, that's very creative.
And you know what? I can understand. When you're the only game in town, what are you going to do? I mean, there is a reason why, the graphics game is not cheap today either, right? It's not. Mm-hmm. It'd be, if we had the same competition, it would be different. But yeah, I mean, that's just crazy. 32 cores.
Yes.
$28 per thread. I just can't.
64 threads, 64.
Bust out the first chart. It's too bad. Yeah. So we didn't show this, but
we'll just show really quickly the Benjamin chart.
The Benjamin chart. Can we get that out there?
And
for audio listeners, it's basically a bar chart of basically all the prices, with the 24-core Threadripper for $27 per thread, the 32-core for $28. And then at the high end, of course, we have the Broadwell 10 cores, $86 a thread. But you know what I didn't put on here? I should have. But everybody thinks, and there's really no proof. Nobody knows. But everybody thinks the 28-core part that Intel says we're launching in Q4 is going to be Skylake X. So, and there is that chip already exists. There is actually a CPU being sold. It's a Xeon Platinum SP, and I don't remember the exact model number, but I do know the price is in the range of $8,000, right? But you got to remember, Xeon is a different.
8176. It's not $8,000. It's $8,719.
Oh, see, that's in the range.
Wait, can we quickly do that math? Anybody good at math? Anyone can do the per core cost on that is? I'm not good at math, so
I could pull up the original spreadsheet, I guess. But let's see where that price is in at, because I do want to see it, because I was like, I should actually, let's do this.
And while we're doing that on Twitch, Fragalot says, I thought Skylake X already exists.
Yes, it does. Skylake X, but it'll be a Xeon SP. So that is actually sold as a Xeon SP Platinum part. 28 cores. The top end on Skylake X Core i9 branded is currently 18 cores for $2,000 list.
Oh, oh.
Okay, so I'm going to put this up here because I'm going to bet it goes. So we're doing some real-time Excel here, folks.
Oh,
real-time
no.
Excel.
Oh,
Really?
boy. Yes.
Xeon. What's the model number there, Brad? Platinum Xeon.
8176.
Say again.
8176.
You know what I realized? It's that model number because of the cost.
It's pretty damn close, actually. If you flip the 9 around to a 6
Yeah.
and just move 1 or 2 around.
8 series is $8,000. 28, that's 54 threads, I think, right? Is that right? I can't.
6, isn't it?
56.
Yeah, 56. Man, don't make us do math. In front
I'm
of it.
sorry. I'm sorry. I thought, well, while we're waiting, Brad, Swayze on YouTube asked a while ago, is Brad wearing a Randy Moss Vikings jersey?
You know it.
Oh.
Got it back in the day, still rock it.
Wait. What's the price again? 8,007.
8719.
Wow, what a very specific
Wait, what?
number.
Wait, why Randy Moss Vikings?
Yeah, you know it, man.
Isn't that where he
all
went?
right.
Squirting the water bottle at the refs. My
All
fantasy
right.
football draft is this weekend, and Madden just came out, and the Hall of
Nice.
Fame game just started, so it's time to bust out the vintage jerseys.
All right. So
All right, price.
It's $156 per thread.
156 per thread.
Yes.
So let me bring up the original chart. The highest, the Broadwell E was 86. So that's
Yeah,
Wow.
almost double.
But you got to remember,
Yeah,
thread.
it's
to be
Xeon,
fair,
right?
I know everybody always wants to pick on Intel Xeon pricing. Xeon supports 2-way and 4-way configurations off. I don't know if this is actually a 4-way part. So
Yeah, you get a
there's
lot
an
of
extra
stuff with
upcharge for that. There's a lot of validation. You have to support multiple chips. EPYC, AMD's own EPYC is not exactly consumer-friendly priced, but yeah, certainly a killer deal versus the competing Xeon part. So
Crazy.
It sounds like Intel might be getting around to launching more affordable mainstream chips soon, though, huh?
Oh,
Well, but that gets us back to the discussion because, well, wait a minute, but what do they do? Because
Gordon,
I don't know what they can do,
I think, yeah.
right? I mean,
I think Brad's trying to tee us off to something.
that
Segue.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Segue.
really
So I was about to say,
That was really smooth, Brad.
we've been going for a while on this Threadripper
All right.
stuff. So
All right.
let's talk about some Intel
Do you
stuff.
think that's what the Intel plan is there, Brad?
Intel, so a bunch of motherboard makers this week, it seems like one every other day, have started updating and proudly announcing that their motherboards are going to start supporting the release of BIOS updates for Intel 9000 series chips. Gigabyte, MSI, and today ASUS all announced it. Intel has never announced 9000 series chips, though, so that's pretty interesting.
Huh. Weird.
What do you think that means?
What does that mean?
Means it's coming soon, and they don't want you to buy a Threadripper 2.
I thought all the rumors said these CPUs were coming in CES, right? That's I think the last rumor I heard.
There was the last time we talked about it, last week or the week before, there was like 7 different roadmaps published in a day, basically, all kinds of different leaks. That's why you take leaks with a grain of salt. Most of them these days are pointing to soon-ish, like this fall, maybe September, October.
Right. And the fact that these motherboards have all been updated to support this new CPU sort of supports that, I would think.
And one of the question marks in the last episode that we had is because the rumor is that these are going to be 8-core chips, right? Because, I mean, even Intel's own technical documentation earlier this year hinted at 8-core chips. So that's what's expected. But we weren't sure if that was only going to be supported on the new Z390 boards that have also been announced but never appeared. But all of these announcements from the motherboard makers are saying, hey, our whole lineup is going to support Intel 9000 series chips. So it's looking like it's going to work pretty much across the board.
Huh.
So even for Z370, no problems, it looks like.
Yep, Z370, H310 or whatever it is.
Oh, wow, really?
Wow.
All of them, the whole lineup.
So they did. So remember, of course, Intel has said, look, we did actually make that change with the 3 series to support more cores. So clearly there's some proof to support that. Yeah. Intel was not trying to screw you folks, even though everybody insists that is true, but they really did have to make a change. So
Well,
that's good news, right? That's really good.
Speaking of
That's
screwing
great.
some
I mean,
people, though. Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, I'll stop. And with that kind of what you just set up, I want to listen to what you're saying.
Well, no, we got some people asking why isn't Intel price matching? We've got all these cores, all this money, coming out from the AMD side. How come they're not price matching? Do you think we'll see any sort of hit back with the price?
We haven't yet.
Not slowly though, right?
Not really. And I think it's because they can basically still say we have an advantage in clock speed, right? So you don't necessarily have to, duke it out with your competitor if you can win on something that they can't.
But we have
last year I upgraded to Ryzen myself to get 8 cores, but I'm building a new GPU test system for PCWorld right now, and that has the 8700K in it. Because even though it has 2 less cores, it's the superior gaming chip because of the clock speeds. So, I mean, even though they have fewer cores, they have the gaming advantage, and that's what a lot of people who are building PCs are looking for.
Yeah.
But do you think that alone is why they're not doing price matching? I kind of think, but I do think they are giving you more than you ever got before in some ways.
They are. I do think that what you're getting instead of a price drop is more value for the price you're paying.
Right.
But I think just because Intel, my personal opinion is that because Intel has dominated for so long, they're probably, and they're so big, that they're probably very conservative about how willing they are to drop their prices because, it's like trying to move a big ship. Like, overcorrection is going to have potential ramifications on other parts of the boat,
Right. Well, and again, getting back to Threadripper, their enterprise part is $9,000 for 28 cores. They can't turn around and sell you a 28 core Core i9
exactly
for $1,500.
And honestly, I wonder if this is their way of also making sure it doesn't become a race to the bottom, because that wouldn't be good for either one of them.
Yeah.
Intel processors still show up more often than not in the Amazon list of best-selling CPUs too. So
yeah.
And what's going to be interesting, I mean, we talked about this, I think, last episode, but it's still the thing I'm going to be looking out for is some of the rumors about these 8-core chips is that Core i7 will go to 8 cores but not have any hyper-threading, whereas the Core i9 chips will have 8 cores and hyper-threading for 16 threads. And depending on how that shakes out and the pricing works out, if that actually happens, I think that's the point where you got to raise an eyebrow or not. Because if it winds up being $350 still for a Core i7 with 8 cores but no hyperthreading, then you're still just getting the same 8 cores that you did with the Skylake and the 6700 series and stuff for a Core i7 chip.
Yeah. And one theory I'd heard floated is that you can run the clocks up higher by turning off HT. So it's possible this part is intended to be like a very high overclocking part, or just run at really high base clocks than other parts. But then I don't really see how that works, because if you have an 8-core Core i9 with hyperthreading that runs at a lower clock, you get more performance from the hyperthreading on multi-threaded tasks. But then you give up sort of gaming performance to the i7 if you're an i9. I don't know if that really makes any sense. So.
Yeah, assuming these do come out, I mean, all the motherboard makers are announcing support for 9000 series at least. Assuming there's an 8-core chip, I think that's when we're going to have to reevaluate the Intel pricing situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still think it'll be $450? Is that like we were all guessing?
So.
$450 for that i9 part?
I thought I saw a rumor somewhere where the estimate was $500, but I think that's too high, personally.
Yeah, it does seem like it. I kind of wondered though if I still think a lot of the appeal of AMD too is in the stock heatsink.
Yeah,
they're really decent coolers for what you're getting for free, right? It's bundled with the CPU. So the Intel ones are just they are engineered correctly. They're great for what they are, but they just don't look cool. They don't impress,
and they're like a one install job.
And they don't come with K-series chips either.
Yeah, and they don't come with K-series. I'd almost think that Intel really does have to look, we're going to give you a nice beefier.
Oh, you think they might throw in a cooler then?
I don't know, because I mean, again, a lot of the value of 2700X is like, hey, we're giving you a cooler that's got it performs well, and it's got RGB, dude. That's all you need. You're right. I don't need to go out and buy $30 to $40 for it.
Yeah, I just finished putting together the Twitch streaming PC, the other project I'm doing, and when I turned it on, I was like, ooh.
RGB still matter today. It's a big deal.
It's great.
I don't know. I just These 9000 series, I do want, I don't know. So 2700X is still $329 with a cooler. Is it worth it? Yeah, I guess if you're a gamer.
With a cooler, yeah.
Well, but I mean, if you're a gamer and you are looking for higher frame rates, you've got a 240 hertz panel, then yeah, you go Intel, right, with the high clocks. And if you're getting the 8-core part, that thing is going to be a monster. It's hard to see a 2700X competing with that part on pure performance, on cost.
Yeah, but if it costs $330 or $300 and the Intel one costs $450 or $500, there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, they don't even have to compete. Maybe they've just decided AMD's going to give you more value.
Yeah.
Great performance overall, more value.
Right.
Intel's going to just cost you more and give you better performance.
Yeah.
But
Which is, kind of similar to a situation we saw on the GPU side of things when Polaris came out.
yeah, that's true. Until everything got messed up with mining.
Right. Before everything went to heck in the handbasket.
But the bottom has fallen out there, right? It's gotten cheap.
Yeah. Been seeing, well, not the GTX side of things, but the RX 580 is starting to see some decent prices on them now.
Okay.
You're starting to see them around the price that they launched at.
Yes, that's what I mean. Sorry, that's what I mean by decent. My anchor point has been so moved now that MSRP is considered a good price.
But you know it's a really good price?
Free?
No. Even better, these new QLC SSDs. See, I can do it too. I can move along. I see the clock.
Nice.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well, I don't have a graphic for this one, so
No graphic.
No graphic for this one.
It's just cheap.
And
Late
also,
edition.
I just want to let everyone know, it turns out I have a hard stop at 11:30, so if I sneak out, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
no worries.
All right, okay.
It's popular. It's 2 weeks in a row now. Nobody ever wants to talk to me.
I'm very bad at scheduling my meetings.
No, Lester just like, I got to go do. I'm not wasting any time here anymore. Got to go.
No worries.
What? So it's a 1 terabyte Intel first SSD, right? QLC SSD. All right, 600,
yeah, that's the important part. It's the
660p.
first QLC.
First QLC SSD. Price $199 lists for 1 terabyte.
That's
Or
not bad.
$99 for 512.
99?
Yeah.
Yeah, for
That
512.
is not bad at all.
That is a list price.
Maybe that's why the SSD prices have been so all over the place lately.
They're like, quick, get out of the way.
Yeah, no, I'm serious because I couldn't figure out because SSD prices have been so inflated for the last 6 months at least. Like I was expecting them to drop during Black Friday and they didn't really. And then this last 2 weeks or so, suddenly we're seeing 512 gigabyte SSDs in both form factors now. Usually it's a 2.5 drive size that I see that drops, not so much the M.2, but both form factors are dropping. You can get a Western Digital Blue for $90 for 512 gigs. And
SATA or NVMe?
SATA, but still, that's a very good price. That's what they were almost 2 years ago when they were on deep sale.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're only seeing it drop to that now is both good and also a little depressing.
Well, and then I think the big deal with this Intel 660p is it is $99 for 512 gigs, and it is an NVMe drive.
Holy crap!
Yes. What? No, it's not NVMe.
It is. We have a review up on the site today. I suggest people read it if you're interested in it. It's NVMe, but it's still pretty slow for what
it performs
it's not
once you
going to
burn through the
compete with
cache.
the 970 Pro.
No,
but it'll give you awfully good performance, much better than existing TLC drives, at a great price point. So,
Brad, having a
it
chance.
is a game changer.
I haven't had a chance to look at the review yet. Does it perform better than a SATA drive still?
Yeah. It's so the issue is once you burn through the variable cache, dynamic cache, then you're getting to the native write speed of the NAND, and that's not that impressive. But I'm just looking at. I think the one
for 99, that's really good actually.
It looks to me like, if you're writing 1 or 2 gigs or 4 gigs or 5 gigs, it's probably fine. But it's when you're writing 50 gigs of files.
You're copying of your Steam library?
Yeah, and that's what you're going to, you start off, you're probably going to get very, very good speeds until you burn through the cache. And for the most part, it looks.
And when you burn through the cache, it drops down to hard drive speeds.
Oh.
Yeah, 100 megabytes per second. But the thing is, we ended up, I think, giving it 3.5 stars, which I think is a little bit harsh because the majority of the time, it's right up there. It's
Right.
better than the other budget drives. And I believe they encountered this cache issue after moving, I think it said 96 gigabytes worth of data. So I don't think people are going to be moving 96 gigabytes worth of data very often, and especially if you're buying a budget drive.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's actually, it's a little, I probably would have given a little more just for the breaking the, when you break the barrier first to be the first NVMe budget drive with QLC, that's a big
Yeah,
deal.
that is actually
Because
a
everything is
good
SATA,
value.
right?
That is a
Those
great value.
$99, even those $200 terabyte drives,
Yeah.
those are all SATA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
no,
nice to
I'm
get.
I'm very
NVMe.
impressed.
So QLC, just for people who don't know, is quad level cell. Basically, you can write 4 bits per cell, hence the quad. So you can fit more into what you got. Before, you could only go up to triple level cell. So that's where it's stuffing more in than it could before. That's why it's so cheap.
Nice.
Yeah. And everybody seems to be, Intel's the first, and I think Samsung is also announcing QLC, and Micron and
Toshiba.
everybody, Toshiba, everybody's got this. The SSD prices are going to go through
I'm
the
so
floor.
excited for holiday season now.
But you
I'm
know,
actually, I games are pretty big, right? But I am strongly considering getting one of these 1 terabyte ones to act as like a secondary games drive for me, because I like to keep my games on an SSD personally.
right.
And right now I move them between my SSD and my hard drive. But if I pick this up, I'm never going to be moving 96 gigabytes worth of data onto or off of it, aside from when initially installing a Steam game, which is going to be slower than that anyway. So I think this is a really interesting looking drive.
Yeah, it's a big breakthrough, and I can see that too, because I could see running a high performance, MLC drive as a primary boot drive, 512 terabyte if you can
That's
afford
what
it.
I have.
And then you're running a secondary, maybe 2 of these babies as your game and other media drives, and then just like take that hard drive and out the window finally,
That would be
It's
sweet.
the end of hard drives. And I think that's the thing is we got to this day marks the end of hard drives. This is like,
This is very exciting.
it is like, and this is just the first. It's just here.
It's
It's
not
just brand new.
quite, but it's getting there.
It is getting here. It is like if you're getting 512 gig SSD PCIe NVMe for $99,
Yeah.
how do you justify a hard drive?
Well, because you're buying a 12 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a 12 terabyte hard drive is like $400.
I'm just saying, you still get, if we're talking about value in your money chart, you're still getting more value from
On
a
his
hard
Bucks
drive.
chart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Bucks chart.
storage people, they always call it sort of like the closer you get to the CPU is warm. Like, so Optane, RAM is like really hot, and then Optane is like pretty damn hot. And then SSD is like warm, and then like sort of like hard drives are like cold storage, right? So like where you're putting stuff just to die or whatever. Like you don't want to get rid of those pictures of you and your, funky clothes from 10 years ago. And I kind of wonder, like, this is going to push hard drives even further. Like the hard drive will be like, I don't know if anybody ever knew this. Maybe this is a 70s thing, but the deep freezer. So any family that ever had the deep freezer,
the chest freezer.
so the deep freezer is the one, not the one upstairs with the real, like your regular fridge, but the deep freezer is where you put the fish that you caught on that fishing trip, and it's in there for like 10 years. Like nobody ever eats it, but it's just like in there. You put it there to like never look at again.
It's the Costco freezer. That's
Yeah,
what I
there
call
you
them.
go.
Yeah, but it's the deep freezer. Those those big huge chest freezers that people kept in
Yeah.
the basement to keep.
Yeah.
And that's like
I think
the
people-
hard drive is
people
going to
still
be
do it.
like that. You're going to be like, I'm never going to look at this again. Just put the deep freezer. It's just going to like sit there for 20 years.
You'll still have it, hopefully.
And that's what this does to it. I mean, these drives are a big deal, I think. I don't know.
Nice.
We'll see. Well, there's a reason WD shut down that hard drive factory.
I think it's really interesting, actually, the way the cache works in this, because it's dynamic, like you said earlier. So basically, it treats a variable portion of the drive as single level cell. So like they're only writing 1 bit per cell, because that's real fast. And then it catches back up after the fact and translates to QLC. So this is all kinds of interesting, I think, this drive.
Yeah, faster when it's empty, slower when it's full, right? So, but
Yep.
Neat.
Elena's going to take a powder.
I have 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, 2 minutes.
So
all
if there are
right.
any questions for me, I
Yeah.
should answer them now.
Yeah.
All right.
Elena.
You did have one specifically. This was at the very beginning of the show. That said, "Where are all your watches?" Oh yeah, you just couldn't see. It was behind the laptop. They're
I
there.
got them.
Don't worry, they're there.
Those are her government low jacks.
I will finally write this review, hopefully this week.
Yeah.
But
One day.
yeah.
On Twitch, Bastille Best week.
One of these days you'll get it.
I forgot.
do it,
Is
Adam.
asking, are you guys invited by NVIDIA to Gamescom?
I'm going to Gamescom this year, actually. As it turns out, Hayden, our games reporter, is also going to Gamescom. So
Yeah.
You're just visiting.
NVIDIA does announce
For the first
Yeah,
time.
if NVIDIA does announce anything out there, we'll make sure we're part of it.
Boom. Sweet.
We actually are, like, Gordon and Mark went to Computex earlier this year, too. We're traveling out a bit more this year, so.
Yeah,
Sweet.
big show.
Yes. On YouTube, Chris Robinson's asking, will they ever discontinue Core i3 and replace it with Core i5 and the Core i9 taking the Core i7 spot? You think they'll ever do that?
I don't think so. Intel likes
No.
having segments for, more cost-conscious
Yeah.
customers, and I think they just keep it cut up. I could see, Celeron or Pentium kind of maybe sometimes those kind of vanish and then come back as demand goes. Core i3 is clearly going to be around for a long time,
It's a very established part of the brand.
but things are being a little sliced up a little bit more. So
All right, I'm going to sneak out. Bye, everybody.
All right.
Sorry to do this again.
Bye, Lena. And another question on YouTube from Music. Sure. Does anyone know failure rates for old style hard drives versus SSDs?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
yeah, I don't know either. It's really difficult because it seems to vary from organization to organization. Everybody likes looking at the backplays studies.
Yep.
Some people have found issues with them, and then some people think it's still valuable. I know Google's also published failure rates, but most of those are for cold storage. They're for hard drives, not for SSD failures. So
And then on Twitch, Chicago Hydros is asking, Gordon, when are you allowed to talk about your Threadripper 2 review?
I don't know if I'm even allowed to say when I'm allowed to talk about it,
one
but
of
it
those
will be
things.
coming up. Did they say?
Well, we know that it's the parts are hitting the streets on the 13th. So judging by past, review cycles and stuff, I would expect to have, at least by launch, I would expect there to be reviews up.
Yeah.
But you know what's actually interesting? I don't know if it made it into that interview we did with Jim Anderson, but he really wanted to time second gen Threadripper launch date for the exact same as Threadripper, the first gen part, like to the day. But I guess the pushback was like, yeah, that's Friday. Like everybody says Friday. I haven't seen the movie. Nobody's working. So like, okay, Monday.
Why not? Cool. Nothing outstanding that we can talk about.
Everybody's just too desperate. Everybody wants to know stuff.
They want to know performance. They want to know temps. They want to know power draws. You know how it
Do
is.
people care? We were having a discussion beforehand. Do people really care about temps if you're running it on stock? Overclocking, yeah, you wouldn't know about temps. But stock temps, do you really care that much? To me, as long as they've done their engineering, it doesn't kill itself. Who cares? Does it matter?
I like water coolers anyway, so I like air coolers as well. I like big coolers, so it doesn't matter to me.
Sir Mix-a-Lot. I prefer CLCs as well because it's just easier to get to the RAM. There have been some really highly public leaks, and for a while we were getting people saying air coolers the best. Air coolers are great until you try to get to the RAM. So
True. But I mean, that Wraith Ripper does look pretty cool. I do like what AMD's doing with their stock coolers.
It's just beautiful. And the thing is, you can't probably tell from this video or definitely on the audio. It is really intense. It is just a beautiful, even glow. I kind of wish the entire were inverted. The whole center section glowed, and then the logo itself were blocked out. But I don't know if you can get it as even that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
It is just
That'd be hard.
brilliant. This thing is powered off of a single SATA controller for the LEDs. So that tells you how much power they're running through there.
Yeah. We got a good question from Alexander on YouTube. From JV Boy 60. Do you feel uncomfortable leaving CLCs running 24/7? What do you guys?
No, I mean, it's just that if you're not doing anything, you're just wasting electricity. But no, I don't think there is always going to be pump and pump life, but that's the same as the bearings in a fan too. But they're probably well engineered for dying when you don't want it. You don't care about it anymore, so I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I think
I leave mine on, but my computer hibernates or goes to sleep or whatever, and so it turns off anyway.
Also SS space S on YouTube asks, how easy is it to replace the fan on the Threadripper? What do you think? Is it easy to get to?
It is not easy to get to. It's basically, so this looks like a single continuous piece of plastic for the LED, the middle section. You have two great big giant heat sinks on the outer edges. So this is a heat sink. I think it's functional. And then you got a heat sink, and then the fan is wedged in the middle of this. So I guess what you'd do is you'd probably have to pull the cowling off, and then you could somehow carefully get the fan out of there. It's not going to be easy. You're not going to want to like, oh, I got nothing to do. Let me just do this in 10 minutes. It's definitely going to be a big project.
If it's doable.
If it's doable. I'm going to guess you can because they had to put it together some way. It may not go back together quite the same, but probably. It's possible. But I don't think it's the fan is in the center. There's a single fan that sucks in one side and blows out the other side. So it's not like you have fans in both sides of it.
Nice. And let's call this the last question from Trevor Lentz on YouTube. Do you think we'll get more than 8 cores on the AM4 platform, the 3rd gen Ryzen?
I know there was that rumor of it. I think it would probably take to the next. It would be the next generation processor. It's entirely possible, I guess. You know, I mean, really, I can't see any reason other than thermal and power that would limit it, but it is possible. So, and AMD, no,
I'm more doubtful. I think maybe they could do it, but I think once you start getting up into 16 cores and 12 cores and stuff, they're going to want to get you buying into the more expensive Threadripper X399 platform and whatnot. I mean, because there's not going to be many everyday consumers who even want the 16-core processor.
Yeah.
They want you spending more on that stuff.
Yeah, they don't want you spending more. And the question is, where do they go from here? Because it is a real challenge getting anything that uses all these cores. It is really difficult. I mean, you really have to be, you push pixels around professionally to need it. So for consumers and sort of addressing that consumer market, pushing 16 cores to them doesn't necessarily get them the performance today because games aren't using it, applications aren't using it. So maybe the better approach is to increase clocks. So, you know, they can massage, they're getting to a new process. They'd probably get more out of a 7 nanometer Ryzen 8 core pushed, 4.5 gigahertz than they would out of a current part, right? So,
yep,
it's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure they're looking at all the pros and cons of it. I mean, marketing, yeah, it definitely helps because consumers see 16 cores, but again, practical issues, no. But it can be solved. You have a 16 core part, and you now have it able to run up to 4 gigahertz on 8 cores or 2 threads or whatever, or 5 gigahertz. That can help. So we'll see. We don't have those parts yet.
Cool. All right. Let's wrap it up. We're at the end of the show.
We're at the end. It's been a long couple days.
Long.
And I can't find my notes.
You can confirm that you are testing it, right?
I can confirm I am testing it. We obviously have the part. A lot of people have the part. We are not allowed to talk about it yet, so stay tuned. It's going to be interesting. It's always going to be interesting, right? This is a profound time to be living in the PC world.
Yes.
32 core CPUs.
Love it.
$99. Yeah, one terabyte SSDs that are going to kill hard drives pretty much almost. Where we are in profound times. A sea change. So
love it.
So check back next week to see if hard drives have been killed by SSDs and to see if we can talk about this Threadripper 2 on the Full Nerd for your... I'm totally messed that up, but I'm going to keep going anyway because I'm just really fried.
Do it.
For audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes. Please also leave a review. Every time you do, this Threadripper CPU will continue to grow. We're trying to get it to the size of a building, so please do go and leave a review. Also, you can listen to us on Google Play or Stitcher. Send questions and comments to thefullnerd@PCWorld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Maong with Brad Charkis.
Adios.
Elena Yee. And Adam Patrick Murray is going to hit the off switch.
Whoops, I forgot to change the thing. I'm going to do that right now and say go with your rape. Rape your... No. Nope. Threadripper. Sorry.
That really sounded bad.
Sorry.